Fundamental rights are the basic human rights enshrined in the Constitution of India, which are guaranteed to all citizens. They are essential for the development of every individual and provide a framework for ensuring social, economic, and political justice. These rights are enshrined in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution from Articles 12 to 35. The significance of fundamental rights lies in their role in safeguarding the liberties of individuals and ensuring the establishment of a democratic and just society. They act as a check on the powers of the state and provide a legal framework for the protection of the individual freedoms. Moving on to the 6 fundamental rights explained between Article 12 and 35 in the Constitution of India. Right to equality is explained between Articles 14 and 18. The right to equality guarantees equality before the law and prohibits any form of discrimination. It ensures that all citizens are treated equally in the eyes of the law. Equality before law under Article 14. This article guarantees that every person is equal before the law and has equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. It prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Prohibition of discrimination between Article 15 and 16. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Article 16 provides for equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, ensuring that no citizen is discriminated against in respect of any employment or office under the state. Equality of opportunity under Article 17 and 18. Article 17 abolishes untouchability and forbids its practice in any form. Article 18 abolishes titles except for military and academic distinctions, preventing the state from conferring any titles and ensuring equality of status among citizens. The right to freedom between Articles 19 and 22. The right to freedom provides citizens with 6 freedoms essential for the development of the individual and the functioning of a democratic society. 6 freedoms under Article 19. Article 19 guarantees 6 freedoms. They include freedom of speech and expression, assembly, association, movement, residence, and profession. These freedoms are essential for the overall development of an individual and for the democratic functioning of the state. Reasonable restrictions under Article 19. The state can impose reasonable restrictions on these freedoms in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence. Protection in case of arrest and detention under Articles 20 and 22. Articles 20 and 22 provide protection against arbitrary arrest and detention. Article 20 offers protection in respect of conviction from offences. Article 21 guarantees the right to life and personal liberty. And Article 22 provides protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Right against exploitation between Articles 23 and 24. The right against exploitation prohibits all forms of forced labour, child labour and trafficking of human beings. Article 23 prohibits trafficking in human beings, forced labour and other similar forms of forced labour, making these practices punishable offences. Article 24 prohibits the employment of children below the age of 14 years in factories, mines or any other hazardous employment. Right to freedom of religion between Articles 25 and 28. The right to freedom of religion ensures the freedom of conscience and right to profess, practice and propagate any religion. Article 25 guarantees the freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice and propagate religion, subject to public order, morality and health. Right to manage religious affairs under Article 26. Article 26 provides every religion, denomination or any section thereof the right to manage its own affairs in matters of religion, establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes, and own and acquire movable and immovable properties. Freedom from taxation for promotion of religion under Article 27. Article 27 prohibits the state from compelling any person to pay taxes for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination. Freedom from religious instruction in educational institutions under Article 28. Article 28 prohibits religious instruction in any educational institution wholly maintained out of state funds. However, institution administered by the state but established under any endowment or trust requiring religious instruction or exempt from its prohibition. Cultural and educational rights between Articles 29 and 30. The cultural and educational rights protect the rights of cultural, religious, and linguistic minorities to preserve their heritage and establish and administer their own educational institutions. Protection of culture and language under Article 29. Article 29 provides any section of citizens residing in any part of India having a distinct language, script, or culture the right to conserve the same. Right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions under Article 30. Article 30 grants all minorities, whether based on religion or language, the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. The state shall not, in granting aid to educational institutions, discriminate against any educational institution on the grounds that it is under the management of a minority. Right to constitutional remedies under Article 32. Article 32 provides the right to move the Supreme Court for the enforcement of fundamental rights. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar described it as the heart and soul of the Constitution because it guarantees the protection of fundamental rights through the judiciary. Moving on to the enforcement of fundamental rights. The enforcement of fundamental rights is ensured through the power of judicial review and the issuance of writs. The judiciary has the power to review laws and executive actions to ensure they do not violate fundamental rights. This power acts as a check on the legislature and executive, protecting the constitutional rights of individuals. Writs include habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, and quo warranto. The Supreme Court and High Courts can issue writs to enforce fundamental rights. The writs of habeas corpus ensures a person's release from unlawful detention. Mandamus commands a public authority to perform a duty it is failing to do. Certiorari is issued to quash any illegal order by a lower court or tribunal. Prohibition is issued to prevent a lower court from exceeding its jurisdiction. Quo warranto challenges a person's right to hold a public office. Moving on to the limitations on fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are not absolute and can be restricted under certain conditions. Reasonable restrictions. The Constitution allows for reasonable restrictions on fundamental rights in the interests of the sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, public order, decency or morality, contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence. These restrictions ensure that the exercise of individual rights do not infringe upon the rights of others or harm the public good. Moving on to the landmark Supreme Court cases on fundamental rights. Several landmark Supreme Court cases have shaped the interpretation and scope of fundamental rights. Case 1 and the Bharati vs. State of Kerala in 1973. This case established the basic structure doctrine, ruling that the Parliament cannot amend the basic structure of the Constitution, including fundamental rights. Menaka Gandhi vs. Union of India 1978. This case expanded the interpretation of Article 21, ruling that the right to life and personal liberty cannot be deprived except by a procedure established by the law that is just, fair and reasonable. Indira Shane vs. Union of India 1992. This case upheld the validity of reservations in public employment, interpreting Article 16 to allow affirmative action for socially and educationally backward classes. Moving on to the recent developments and challenges. Recent developments and challenges highlight the evolving nature of the fundamental rights in India. Right to Privacy 2017. The Supreme Court in K.S. Puttaswamy vs. Union of India declared the right to privacy as a fundamental right under Article 21, emphasizing its importance in the digital age. Section 377 in 2018. The Supreme Court decriminalized consensual homosexual acts between adults in Navtej Singh Johar vs. Union of India, recognizing the rights of the LGBTQ+ community under Article 14, 15 and 21. Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. The amendment has been challenged for allegedly violating the right to equality and secularism, illustrating ongoing debates on the balance between state policies and fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, directive principles and legal rights. Fundamental rights are justiciable and enforceable by the courts. Directive principles enshrined in Part 4 are non-justiciable guidelines for the state to achieve social and economic goals. Legal rights are protected by ordinary law and can be changed by the legislature. Right to life, Article 21. Article 21 has been expansively interpreted to include the right to live with dignity, right to education, right to privacy and the right to a clean environment environment, among others. This judicial activism has significantly broadened the scope of fundamental rights. Role of Human Rights Commissions. The National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commissions play a crucial role in protecting fundamental rights by investigating human rights violations and making recommendations to the government. To conclude, fundamental rights are indispensable for a just and equitable society. They provide a legal framework for the protection of individual liberties and ensure the establishment of a democratic and inclusive society. The protection and promotion of these rights are essential for the overall development and well-being of every individual in the country. The judiciary, through its power of judicial review, ensures that these rights are not violated, thereby upholding the principles of justice, liberty, and equality enshrined in the Constitution. As India continues to evolve, the protection of fundamental rights will remain a cornerstone of its democratic framework, ensuring that the rights and freedoms of all citizens are upheld.